What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Uprise podcast. Today we have a live trade alert as a trade went down in the past hour that doesn't involve the Portland Trail Blazers, but it definitely affects some of the moves they may have had available. We'll get into that, but first we got to jump straight into picks against the spread. Okay, we got something on the line. I'll get to that first after we go look at our records. So what we did on, what was that, Wednesday? I'm mixing up my days here. What we did on Wednesday is we made Chat's games count for two. So it was 2 wins or 2 losses. They counted as double. And what that did is it gave them the same amount of games as we voted on, if that makes sense. You can tell just by looking at the records. Now they've basically voted on the same number of games. So that was just to even things out. Chat went 6-6, so they actually made up a decent amount of ground. It evened out to 12-12. I was 4-8. I've been in a slump. Eric was 5-7. What we're doing for today between me and Eric, if we whichever one of us does worse, has to eat a blazing wing from Buffalo Wild Wings. And me and him don't like hot food, so that's going to be an adventure. So whoever does worse has to videotape them eating a wing, and we'll put it in our next podcast. They also have to tweet it out. Okay, so we have a little something on the line. I'm not trying to eat that. I'm trying to watch Eric eat that. That would be entertaining. So I got to pick up some ground. But since it's 4:05, we got to jump straight into the games. Our first game we got the Memphis Grizzlies against the Detroit Pistons. This game is in Detroit. And I'm rolling with the Grizzlies. I almost doubled down on this game, but I think 1.5 points is for Detroit. The spread being for Detroit, I don't think it makes sense. I think the Grizzlies are a better team. Detroit hasn't played all that well at home. I think this is an easy pick for Detroit.
Yeah, I'm also taking Memphis. I think this is pretty easy as well. I guess we got to pick who's going to double down for Chat.
Yeah. It's 1 a.m., so getting ready for bed. Saw the podcast go live, says Eric Kleiser. If Kleiser is still in here, I don't know if we've let him double down. We can let him double down on one, just for being a Patreon donor. We'll figure that out at the end, though. Anyway, next game, we got the Magic against the Celtics, and this is a pick-em. The Celtics are without Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and you said Cantor as well.
Yeah.
The Celtics are without a lot of players. So I'm rolling with the Orlando Magic. This game is in Orlando. Boston Celtics are beat up. They're missing Jason Tatum, which is a very important part of their team, a very important two-way player for them. I'm rolling with the Magic in this game.
I'm going to take the Celtics. I originally had this as my double down, and then I switched off it after I found out the injury report. But they still have, Walker, Smart, some Gordon Hayward, those kind of players. So I think they could still win this game.
Got you. See, I'm going to need to win this game. This is a very important game because me and Eric agree on a lot of picks here. So this Magic Celtics game, I'm going to be watching this eagerly, hoping the Magic can pull that out. We got the Knicks in Madison Square Garden taking on the Raptors. The Raptors are 7.5-point favorites. That spread is not enough. I'm doubling down on the Toronto Raptors in this game. This is the other game that's very important for me. I did not think that 7.5-point spread was enough for a Toronto team that's been blowing teams out, been killing it lately. The Knicks are the Knicks, so I'm feeling pretty confident in that double down. We'll see if that pans out.
Yeah, this was the next one I was going to pick if I had to double down on one. I also took Toronto. They've been playing really good since Siakam came back. So I think they win this game going away.
Gotcha.
Although we thought that about the Lakers the other day.
True. But 7.5 points, man. I saw the spread. I'm like, yep, that's definitely my double down. Anyway, next game we got the Miami Heat in Miami going up against the Los Angeles Clippers. I believe Kawhi and Paul George are back for that game. Is that the case?
I hadn't seen that.
Okay, so Kawhi and Paul George missed their last game, so who knows if they're going to play. Even if they play, I still have some confidence in the Heat. This game is in Miami, and Miami has played terrific at home, so I'm rolling with the Miami Heat for this game.
I'm forgetting who I took. I think I took the Heat as well.
Yeah, you took the Heat. There you go. There's the graphic.
Sorry.
It's all good. What's up, Robbie Stacks? But, alrighty. So, we're agreeing on that one as well. Next game
they're pretty dominant at home.
They are, yeah. See, that's what went into this. If they were on the road and Clippers were favored by 2.5, I'd take the Clippers for sure. But the question marks with their wings being out, their best two players being out with the Clippers, and Miami playing at home. I think that's a pretty easy Miami pick there, but we'll see what happens.
Owen Hart says bad pick. Heat don't have a point guard. Well, they have Jimmy Butler's basically the de facto point guard.
Yeah, he getting 6 assists a game, can handle the ball like a point guard. Yeah, they don't. Kendrick Nunn, are they missing Kendrick Nunn? Like they'll be fine.
He's been bringing the ball up. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Next game we got is the Bulls in Chicago taking on the Sacramento Kings. I was trying to think of their arena name and I couldn't remember it. But anyway, they're favored by 2 points against the Kings, and I'm taking the Bulls here. The Kings have not panned out for me when I picked them lately, so I'm rolling with the Bulls. It's pretty simple logic. I'm not going to keep getting burnt by the Kings. I'd rather get burnt against the Kings at this point, so I'm rolling with the Bulls.
Yeah, this is one of those where both teams are kind of hard to pick sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chicago is going to win.
Alrighty. See, we're agreeing on a lot of picks. That's why I know it's making these graphics, but I wasn't going to change any picks so that we could have a little bit of difference because we got something on the line. So anyway, next game, we got the Rockets. They're favored by 5 points on the road in Minnesota. This is an easy pick for the Rockets. The Minnesota Timberwolves do have Karl-Anthony Towns back, but the Rockets are an overall better team. I could see this being a Timberwolves win, actually. I said this is an easy pick for the Rockets, but Timberwolves are just a hard team to figure out because they'll really struggle one game with Karl-Anthony Towns, and then the next game they'll look good against a decent team. They're just super inconsistent, so that actually is a hard team to bet against. But I'm still rolling with the Rockets.
I agree. I'm also taking the Rockets. Or did I take the Timberwolves? And I'm so messed up.
You took the Rockets. There you go. It's on the screen.
I gave you my picks last night, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
Rough day at work today. Everyone's taking the Rockets in chat, too. So.
Alrighty. So chat's agreeing with us. Anyway, next game we got is in New Orleans. We got the Pelicans taking on the Nuggets. Zion Williamson's second game. He'll be going up against Michael Porter Jr. The Nuggets have Gary Harris out, Jamal Murray out, Paul Millsap out, Mason Plumlee out. So the Denver Nuggets are really beat up right now. The Pelicans are favored by 3.5 points. So I'm taking the Pelicans just because of all those injuries to Denver. That's going to be rough for them. And I think they'll get a win in Zion's second game.
Yeah, I think they'll calm down with a little less hype this game, so I'm taking the Pelicans as well.
I don't expect Zion to have a game like last game. Man, let's just touch on that real quick. That dude was not guarded on like 4 straight 3-pointers. He literally had all day to line that up without anybody within 15 feet of him. I know he knocked down like 4 of them, but he's not going to be like some phenomenal shooter. You know what I mean? Like his elite potential is based on him doing other things than shooting the 3 ball, and the other things he looked really bad at. I know it was his first game. You know, obviously I'm not making any conclusions. It's just like watching that game, everybody was getting hyped, but it was like he's not dunking on anybody. He dribbled the ball into a turnover like 5 times. You know what I mean? It just wasn't. I wasn't like super impressed. You know what I mean? Like he's an NBA player with somewhat of a shot, so he can knock down wide open threes.
And he's basically had months to just shoot. Like that's all he's been able to do for the last few months. So yeah, I mean you got to give him credit for making the 4 threes, but like if he didn't have that stretch where he hit those 4 threes, like it would have been a pretty crappy game versus a phenomenal game like everyone's talking about. So
definitely, it was fun watching him go off like that. Just the atmosphere, you know, it was a fun stretch. But you know, people were, oh my god, this kid's so different. We've never seen anything like him. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Which like I guess is true, but just a lot of like I don't know. I feel like he's going to be overhyped for a while until people get used to him being in the NBA. Anyway, let's move on to our next game. This is the biggest point spread of the day. We got the Thunder favored by 10.5 points against the Atlanta Hawks. I went with the Thunder because I'm not entirely sure if Trae Young's going to play. And if Trae Young doesn't play, I don't see any way the Hawks get this under 10. And if Trae Young plays, I could still see the Hawks losing by double digits. So I'm going with the Thunder there.
Are you doubting Brandon Goodwin again?
Brandon Goodwin, I don't think he's going to score 19 points in a fourth quarter again. But we'll see. That would be impressive if he did that.
Yeah. I'm also going with the Thunder, playing at home. Like you said, if Trae Young's out, I think that's a definite win.
Got you. Alrighty. Next game. This game's actually pretty tough in my opinion. We got the Spurs favored by 4 points at home. I'm rolling with the Spurs. I'm rolling with the favorite here. Phoenix has struggled lately. That point spread is low enough for me to bet the Spurs with some level of confidence. But I feel like this is kind of a toss-up here.
I'm also going with the Spurs. Don't trust the Suns at all, especially on the road. Spurs, despite the hype of that last game in New Orleans, came out with the win, even with Zion going crazy in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I like the Spurs in this game.
Alrighty, and then our last game we got the Warriors at home against the Pacers. The Pacers are road favorites by 5.5 points. That spread is nowhere near big enough. I'm surprised that spread is so low. This could have been another good double down pick. I'm rolling with the Pacers.
I am also rolling with the Pacers, and that's my double down for tonight's. Switch to this game because I don't understand why the spread is so low. The Pacers have been great on the road this year. I think they're a better road team than home team, actually. But yeah, I'll take them. It's only having to win by 5.5 in Golden State.
Yeah, and that's our next opponent too. Couple days from now. So we agreed. I'm just going back and looking. We agreed on all but one pick. so the only difference is if our double down picks. That's what's fun about the double down. If our double down picks work out or not. Then that Orlando Boston game. So hopefully that Orlando Boston game has already started too.
So all my whether I have to eat a blazing wing comes down to whether an injured Boston team can beat Orlando on the road.
But like if my double down pick is a loss, I get one extra loss. Then the double down pick is a win, and you get one extra win. You could make up some ground. But let's let me. I want to check here. I want to check the start of this Boston game since we got something riding on it. The Celtics are winning 14-7. Screw me. All right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Of course. Okay. Pause. Anyway. So today's topic, it's a trade alert because we're covering every NBA trade that we can. Willie Cauley-Stein got traded to the Dallas Mavericks, and that affects the Blazers because I thought the Dallas Mavericks were a perfect destination for Hassan Whiteside. They have an early second-round pick from the Golden State Warriors. I thought that could be a good destination for them, but it looks like Dallas is settling for mediocrity at the center position in terms of their replacement and settling for Willie Cauley-Stein, although they don't have to give up any players for him. They only have to give up a Utah Jazz second-round pick, which is going to be in the 50s. I'm surprised the Warriors sold Willie Cauley-Stein so low, but
it does. I was reading that exact stuff. So, it clears $5.66 million towards luxury tax payments, and they're now far enough. They're $2.57 million below the hard cap now, so they can probably convert the last of their two ways to.
You okay?
Yeah. They probably have enough money to convert both Kai Bowman and Marquise Chris back to the roster, because it does leave them with 2 open roster spots as well. But yeah, it was basically just a tax-saving move and opening up a roster spot for them.
Yeah, it just sucks, man, because that probably rules out a destination for Hassan Whiteside. I mean, maybe they'd still trade for him, but it looks like that's going to be their Dwight Powell replacement. And Willie Cauley-Stein kind of brings some of the same things Dwight Powell does. He just doesn't have the shooting touch Dwight Powell does. Dwight Powell's an underrated shooter, and he's, Dwight Powell, I think, is the better player, but still they get their center replacement. It was reported that they were looking for somebody with size that could give them 15 points per game. Willie Cauley-Stein definitely isn't giving you 15 points per game. He's going to give you more like 5 points per game. But, in their situation, not having to give up a player, only giving up a very late second-round pick, I definitely understand this trade for the Dallas Mavericks, man. It just sucks because there's not many teams out there that make sense as a Hassan Whiteside destination. that have the salary to match. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of playoff teams have centers that are entrenched in their roles. The only other team that I can think of, as I've said, is Boston, but they'd have to trade Gordon Hayward or Marcus Smart to get Hassan Whiteside. I don't see them doing that. And they'd have to trade Marcus Smart and a bunch of other salary, a bunch of other role players. So it just doesn't make sense for many playoff teams to trade for him. You know, Philadelphia with Embiid, you got Toronto with like Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka. I mean, maybe that could be a destination, but I doubt it. I'm trying to think of other like really good NBA teams. I mean, the Clippers have Harrell and Zubac. The Lakers have McGee and Davis. You know, the Nuggets have Jokic. The Rockets have Capella. The Jazz have Gobert. So you just run down these lists of playoff teams. None of them are going to be interested in Hassan Whiteside, the player. So his value simply lies in his expiring contract. You know, I mean, I still think it makes sense to trade him for a bunch of reasons that we've discussed already. Yeah. But it's just, we're probably not going to get an asset for him. By the way, Magic cut it to 1. Let's go.
So we're basically back to salary dumping trades for teams that don't want to pay someone next year. So we're looking at back to our original trades. You know, if we have the best offer for Covington and Jang, if we have the best offer for getting Otto Porter off the books, maybe no team wants that salary on their books next year. Maybe worst case scenario, like a Batum and picks or something.
Yeah. I just got to shut down this trade idea real quick. Dame Dollar said, Hassan Whiteside for Davis Bertans and 2 first-round picks. Washington wouldn't trade Bertans for Whiteside even without the picks. So they're definitely not doing that.
And it doesn't work financially.
Yeah, and it doesn't work financially. They'd have to throw in Mahinmi, but yeah. So yeah, salary dump, 2-year contract, that becomes an expiring next year, and we could maybe get assets for being willing to take on a bad 2-year contract. That could be interesting.
So Chris Stevens said, did you see Quick's athletic thing today? I think it was like where he took questions or something. So he said 50-50 they trade Whiteside. Will only trade him for a long-term piece. Importantly, they won't be giving up any significant assets, so no first-round picks. Well, so that's fine because, I mean, we've always said that Otto Porter Jr. wouldn't take a first-round pick, right? Yeah. So maybe that's still on the deal. And most of the trades that we just talked about, like a Batum, or if we trade him somewhere for a salary dump, it's going to be us getting the assets back, not us giving up the assets. So I don't think it's still out of the realm of possibility that he's traded to some of those places we mentioned. But yeah, that's I don't want him to trade. Like, this is the question. I told Tori before we started that I had a question for him.
Alrighty.
So 2 minutes before the deadline, Whiteside is still a Blazer. The phone rings. It's Cleveland. We'll give you love for Whiteside. Final offer. It's like, no, you don't have time to take another call. It's either keep Whiteside on the team or you get Kevin Love. What do you do? Did I stump you?
I don't like either of those options, man.
Yeah, I know.
I say no. At this point.
You're not going to just let him expire.
You're not going to be able to trade Kevin Love for anything. Like, there's reports saying that teams want a first-round pick in order to take on Kevin Love's salary. Like, they view Kevin Love as a negative asset. And if Cleveland is to the point where they're willing to dump him straight up for Whiteside, and that's basically confirming that other teams won't give you anything, that Cleveland just wants off his contract and can't find anything to even get off his contract. So yeah. He'd lock us into that roster. He wouldn't be a trade chip. We still wouldn't have trade chips going forward. And that's not a contending roster. You know what I mean? So we get locked into a roster that's not a contending roster. He doesn't help our defense at all. Like, it doesn't make sense for a multitude of reasons. He's declining. He's injury prone. He's that's the thing with that's why I like Otto Porter Jr. because he's a $27 million expiring contract next year. If Kevin Love was a $27 million expiring contract next year, I'd say sure, definitely. You know what I mean? But he's not. He has 4 years making $28 million. That's why nobody wants his contract. That's why I wouldn't want his contract on this team, even if we didn't give up an asset other than Hassan Whiteside for him. It's just, I don't like that. What about you? What would you do?
That's tough. If that was like the only chance I had, I'd probably take it. I don't want Love, but like I think he would be better than nothing, basically, and that cap space. So yeah, I would probably still do it.
I mean, there's still the chance you could
begrudgingly.
There's still a chance you could maybe sign and trade Whiteside for something. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have that than getting locked into a roster with a declining injury-prone Kevin Love that isn't a contender even with Kevin Love because it can't defend at a high enough level. You know what I mean? That's the other reason why I like Otto Porter Jr. because he can be a good defender. Kevin Love is not a good defender, so I think we need to get players that can defend. You know, we need to get players that can defend and players that help our flexibility over the next year. Kevin Love doesn't give us either of that, so I'm not a fan of that.
I was just looking, so they don't have Charlotte has their second round pick this year because someone mentioned would you do it if they threw in a second round pick. It would be a little more intriguing, you know, if they threw in a 2021 and a 2022. Because they're not going to be good for a while, probably, with the way they've been drafted. I think those
picks are backing up the pick they traded to Atlanta. So I don't even think they can trade those picks, those second-round picks. Because they traded a first, and then if they're one of the 10 worst teams, then it conveys to 2 future seconds. So I don't even think they can trade seconds.
No, it's 2024 and 2025 it conveys to. So they can.
Okay. That's a while down the line.
Yeah. And they have like San Antonio's 2022 second, which could be decent once they move on from like Aldridge and DeRozan. And even if they don't, those guys would be, 2 years older by then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they have some intriguing picks they could throw out, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
It sounds like Olshey is approaching the deadline with the wrong mindset, you know. I don't know, 50-50 we trade him, only for a long-term asset. We'll trade him for an asset that hopes you get a long-term asset, you know what I mean? Because he's not going to be an asset that'll really help you get a long-term asset if you don't trade him. And God, I don't want that dude moping off the God. Here's how I see it going. Olshey is going to be dumb and not trade him because you can't get enough of a long-term asset back without, having the foresight to say, okay, maybe we should trade him for a 2-year contract, so next year we can trade that contract, which will be expiring at that point. We could trade it for a long-term contract, He won't have that foresight. He'll keep Whiteside. Whiteside will be unhappy coming off the bench. He'll cause issues. He'll leave in free agency. Like that. God, man. I'm so worried about that, dude, and that would literally if that happens, screw Olshey, fire Olshey, along with fire Stock. You know what I mean? Like that. Oh God, that'd be so frustrating, man.
I'm pretty sure Dane would not be upset with Whiteside being traded Jason Jackson. Like he gets frustrated visibly on the floor. He doesn't get frustrated like that in front of the public very often with certain players. Mm-hmm. And Hamza Nurkic cannot play power forward. That would be a disaster.
Yeah. Nurkic and Whiteside can't play together, man. That's not an option. People keep talking about it as an option. It's not an option for many reasons. I mean, you have no floor spacing. Those guys are bad defenders at the 4. Clogs everything up. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and so Josie's saying our rookies are holding us back. Like, theoretically, most of these guys should be our 10th or 15th guys on the roster and not necessarily our 4th through 8th guys,
Yeah.
And Stotts literally didn't even play he didn't play little last game, so how is he holding him back when he's not even getting a chance to prove himself in any of these games? And you could maybe make a case that Simon's development is holding us back, but like, if you look at Simon's good games, there isn't really a strong correlation between us winning and losing. Some of his best games came in losses, so it's not like he's like a huge reason why we're winning and losing some of these games. Yes, if we had like a Derrick Rose or something instead of Simons, we'd be much better with our bench. But I mean, CJ didn't play the last couple games. Like, it's not Simon struggled, but I mean, it's because we didn't have CJ in a lot of those cases. It's not really the rookies that are holding us back.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, he shouldn't be having to play like 25, 30 minutes a game. You know what I mean? And honestly, I think when CJ comes back, you can see Simon's only playing like 16 to 18 minutes per game, and Gary Trent Jr. is going to steal some of those backup 2-guard minutes. Like Gary Trent Jr., I could see him being the backup small forward and playing some backup 2 as well. So if you got like a Ariza playing, let's say 33 minutes a game, Dame playing 36, CJ playing 36, there's 12 there's 24 backup guard minutes and there's 15 backup small forward minutes. So that's 39, let's just say 40 total minutes. You split those evenly between Trent and Simons, that's 20 minutes apiece. I think you might see something where like Simon's getting 16 to 18 and Trent is getting 24 to 26, because Trent's played better lately. He's looked good. He's also just as young, you know what I mean? So he's also kind of in the same boat. You know, he's not as hyped up, but I mean, the dude went 7 for 10 last night, if I recall correctly. So he could be an important part of this team and could definitely help us out. So I think Trent might be getting more minutes than Simons down the road.
Yeah, for sure. It was encouraging that he was in there at the end and hit some threes there, even though it might have been a little bit after the game was out of hand, but he had a good game overall. It was nice to see. He had a bad game, or he had a really good game and then a bad game and then a good game again. So hopefully he can find some consistency. But yeah, I like his defense a lot.
For sure. Somebody a little bit ago said, "What's up with the trade?" Just tuned in. The Warriors traded Willie Cauley-Stein to the Dallas Mavericks. That affects the Blazers because I thought Hassan Whiteside was a perfect option for the Dallas Mavericks, but they elected for a more mediocre center without having to give up anything other than a 2020 Utah second-round pick, which is going to be in the 50s. So that kind of eliminates one of the options for the Portland Trailblazers to trade Whiteside to in terms of a team that would actually like value him as a player, because there's teams out there that would value his expiring contract or value the savings that will bring on this next summer, but there's not many teams out there that want to trade for Hassan Whiteside in terms of what he could bring to their basketball team in terms of production on the court. A lot of playoff teams have entrenched centers. Dallas was really one of the only teams that didn't have like an entrenched, legit starting center even before Dwight Powell went down, and then Dwight Powell got hurt, so then it was like they're looking for a center, so that was a good destination. They still have a early second round pick next year from Golden State, so that could have been a good asset to get. But they elected to go for Willie Cauley-Stein, so it looks like that's going to be their big replacement for Dwight Powell. I don't expect them to go after us on Whiteside. It just kind of sucks that this trade was made, to be honest.
And they also traded for Justin Patton. They gave up Isaiah Roby to the Thunder. The Thunder included cash in that deal, and then they waived Justin Patton. He might not be a bad guy to pick up if we need big help later on in the season. But or maybe even a 10-day type guy.
Or honestly, like if we have an extra roster spot, I'd be willing to give Jalen Horde, sign him to a regular roster spot, and then bring Justin Patton in on a 2-way contract. That could be something interesting.
Never mind. So I remember the goal. People are saying, going back to your Glenn Robinson thing from the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. So Golden State just freed up a roster spot, so they don't, and cleared some room from the hard cap, so they can actually sign Kai Bowman and Marquise Chris, I think, for the rest of the season without having to give up anyone else and without going over the hard cap. So they're pretty much completely out in terms of just getting a guy for basically nothing. Like they did with Cauley-Stein today.
My whole thought with Glenn Robinson was that we were still going to be contending, or not contending. Yeah. We were going to have a chance at making a playoff run. And at this point, I don't really want to make trades focused on this season and possibly making a playoff run because it looks like it's a very long shot. It looks like we'd have to get the 7th seed, and we're how many games behind the 7th seed are we right now?
I think like 2.5 or 3.
No, the 7th seed.
Oh, the 7th seed? Yeah. Sorry. I'll look that up.
Oh, I got it. So right now we are 7.5 games behind the 7th seed. 7.5 games. Yeah, that's going to be hard to catch. The only way I could see us catching the Thunder and getting that 7th seed is if they decide to trade people and kind of blow it up and get assets for like Danilo Gallinari, maybe even Chris Paul. That's like the only way, and I honestly don't think they'll do that. So we're just kind of stuck looking at either the lottery or the 8th seed and probably losing to the Lakers in the first round because the Lakers are a buzzsaw. You know what I mean? Utah's only 4.5 games back of the Lakers for the number 1 overall seed, so maybe Utah could catch them. Even if Utah was the 1 seed, we were the 8th. If we were healthy, I wouldn't hate that matchup. I think we'd have a chance to win that series. So, I mean, that would be the other thing that would have to happen for us to make a run is Utah would have to catch the Lakers for that number 1 seed because I just hate the way we match up with the Lakers. And I just don't think that's, the Lakers would be a very tough team for us. But we'll see. I'm not on the Glenn Robinson train like I was. That was kind of, okay, we're early in the season. We have some injuries. We just lost Rodney Hood. Let's go get Glenn Robinson to replace him. We're past that now.
Yep, you're just thinking about next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always go back to, you have Dame and CJ. They're both capable of going off in a game. So you're not completely out of any series, but yeah, it's going to be tough because we don't have the pieces currently to match up with AD and LeBron. I mean, you get Zach Collins healthy and he can maybe help guard one of them. He can't stop either of them, but like he can.
I mean, that's like the perfect type of power forward to put against Anthony Davis. It's just like that's still like, LeBron. I mean, I guess we have a reason now, so I guess defensively we match up better, but offensively that we'd struggle against that team because they just trap us to death, and they have like a lot of quickness and length on the perimeter to play the passing lanes behind that trap. I think we'd really struggle with that trap. Stotts hasn't shown me that he has the ability to adapt to trapping defenses in the way that I'd like to see. I don't have confidence that Terry Stotts would handle the Lakers trapping.
Yeah, we get killed with Anthony Davis again.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it'd be just like the Pelicans series. Except it wouldn't be as bad because, it's the number 1 overall seed. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to be trading assets for mediocre role players on 1-year contracts just to try and, be competitive in the first round. Like, I want a championship, and I don't think trading a 2nd round pick for Glenn Robinson to get the 8th seed to go up against the Los Angeles Lakers, I don't think that'll increase our chances of winning a championship with Damian Lillard on the team, basically. I think that would decrease our overall chances of ever winning a championship with Damian Lillard on the team. So every move, in my opinion, has to be made to increase the chance that we can win a championship with Damian Lillard on the team. Every move has to do that.
Vegan for life. I love the draft, so I care about 2nd rounders.
Yeah. I mean, you look at. There's been a multitude of guys who have been undrafted or 2nd round draft picks that are helping contending teams this year. Monte Morris, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, even a non-playoff team. You look at Devontae Graham in Charlotte was a 2nd round pick a couple years ago. I'm definitely missing out on some guys too.
Draymond,
Brogdon. Yeah, I was just thinking like lately, but yeah, there's like Draymond, Brogdon. You got a lot. Jokic was a late 2nd round pick or a mid 2nd round pick. Marcus Gasol was a mid 2nd round pick. Like there's a lot of good players that can be had with 2nd round picks. Just because the 2nd round pick doesn't mean it's worthless. Also, we could go out and possibly get a long-term asset that's better than Glenn Robinson, like a Rodney Hood. We traded 2 second-round picks for a Rodney Hood a year ago, so I don't want to settle for like a Glenn Robinson. He's not better than Rodney Hood at all, you know what I mean? And that trade would be made for this year. Rodney Hood, that trade was made for that year because we were actually in the playoffs, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not on board with the Glenn Robinson idea like I was before.
And let me just dispel this myth. It doesn't really happen anymore that you can just buy your way back into the second round. There was one pick last year traded for cash only, and that was the 58th pick in the draft. Every other draft took at least a future second, sometimes up to 3 future seconds for just 1 second round pick. We had to give up 2 second round picks for Trent. So it's become more and more costly to buy a second round pick because there's so many options you can do with them. The contracts are shaped a little differently than the first round picks, so you have a little bit more flexibility with them. The 58th pick was worth $2 million. Every other pick that was traded, and it was literally like every pick was traded last year in the second round. It's not easy to just go in, and we don't really have a lot of future seconds anyway, so we can't really just trade future seconds to get into the draft this year because we don't have picks to trade that much. And like you said, second round picks are always a good throw into trades. So like the other team feels like they're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
Most of the second round picks we've been talking about are like the Golden State second round pick or the Cleveland second round pick. They're going to be in the top like 35 in picks. It's basically like a late first. So it's not that crazy.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I don't know. Glenn Robinson isn't that good either. Like he doesn't defend well particularly, and I don't know. He's like kind of efficient, but not like, I don't know. Yeah, I think he has like a 55% true shooting percentage. It's not great. But
I mean, he'd be okay if Hood was healthy and we had Ariza and he was like our third wing. Like that would be fine. But obviously Hood's not going to be back this year, so he'd have to be playing big minutes and stuff. And that's
the people's mix. Why are we talking about CP3? Nobody's talking about CP3. I'm not going to talk about CP3. He's spamming the chat with a bunch of CP3 stuff. But Zacho says, I'd fire Stotts and Olshey before breaking up Dame and CJ. They need a new system and a guy who can actually get great talent around them. I 100% agree. You change the front office and see what a different coach could do with that backcourt and try and get a GM who can... Bro, nobody's... Oh my god, dude. I'm getting annoyed.
They were having a discussion about CP3 being a top 3-point guard of all time. It wasn't just people's mix. It was.
I was trying to see for other people, man. I just know he's been like on the CP3. He literally came in and immediately started talking about him because I know we like talked about it on Twitter, but we're talking about other things right now. But he did say he did clue me in. He said Magic are up. They're up 12 now, but Magic are up 12. So I'm feeling good. Eric Kleiser says, by the way, Tori, I was listening to the postgame later, read your comments with the crying face.
No, he said, I think he's saying read your comments because he left comments down below.
Oh, read my comments. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, read your comments. Okay, yeah, I'll read it. Got a random Jimmy High Roller name drop. I don't understand. Also, by the way, I need some help with something. So right now, if you guys got time, DM me if you want to help me with something. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, but I need help with something. I'm kind of in a tough situation. So if you want to help me, just send me a DM right now saying you want to help me out. Anyway.
Yeah, Kleiser's right. Post game's blowing up since he was on.
Oh yeah, dude, he was the guy that really took that to the next level, man. Now everybody's tuning in, hoping he's back. No, post games have been awesome lately. The past couple days, it was like Melo numbers. You know, we had that spike right after we signed Melo, where we just had a spike in viewership, and and then it kind of like dropped off once people weren't really, I don't know, the team was losing and Melo wasn't fresh and brand new anymore. So, but no, it's been good. It's been good the past couple games, man. I've been enjoying it. Anyway, what else do you want to talk about, Eric? Or we can make this a shorter podcast and finish this up.
Yeah, I'm fine with just asking chat for questions.
All right, we'll take questions for like 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap up this podcast. It's a shorter one. There wasn't a ton of stuff to talk about today, but
yeah. So, do you want to talk about Hassan remodeling his house or whatever?
People read way too much into players doing things off the court in terms of what it means for them, in terms of who they're playing for, stuff like that. We heard this type of stuff with Kawhi Leonard earlier this year, man, and he's enrolling his kid in he's looking at Toronto schools, I think it was, and stuff like that, and that didn't mean anything, you know what I mean? He has a kid and was apparently looking at Toronto schools because he wanted to stay or something. I don't know. Him remodeling his house, I doubt he bought that house. I mean, maybe.
Well,
maybe
even if he did, he can still renovate it.
I mean, like if he bought that house, even if he gets traded, doesn't mean he has to sell the house. It means he can keep the house. That can be his Portland destination. You know what I mean? Like he wants to enjoy. The summers up here are beautiful, so that's the thing. He could be renovating his pool or building a pool and like renovating the house, and then if he gets traded, okay. He wants to come back and spend some time here in the summer because he travels a lot. He still has a house in Miami that Myers is in right now, but it's still Whiteside's house. He's made over $100 million, so he probably wants houses different destinations.
Jacob saying they switched houses. That's what I thought too, but someone said that.
No, they offered to switch houses, and Myers took Whiteside's house, but Whiteside didn't take Myers' house because it was like too far out there, apparently. But Myers did offer a swap. I did get confused about that too.
Yeah. But yeah, so a little part of this too is it could just be him being dumb and thinking he's not going to get traded when, Jason Quick just said there was still a 50-50 chance of him getting traded. So like, it could have just been like we told him we're not actively trading him and he thought, oh, well then I'm here or whatever. But even if that was the case, it's not guaranteed that he'd be here after the season anyway, even if he didn't get traded. So I don't understand why that would be a big deal for him to renovate his house when you don't know what's going to happen in free agency. The Blazers could not want to sign him, or he could sign elsewhere. He could get an offer that's way more than the Blazers are willing to offer him, and he'd be gone. So like, it just seems kind of dumb that it would be like, oh, he's putting in a pool or a koi pond. It must mean he's not leaving at all, and we're going to re-sign him for 8 years, and he's going to be a Blazer for the rest of his career.
Yeah. People always read way too much into that type of stuff, man. It's always like, just wait and see. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, I don't know. People just take that and run with it, I think.
Yeah.
Eric Kleiser helped me out. He said, so, Kleiser says, also ask my Norwegian friend, it is Jakob Hauge. So, Jakob, yeah, see, I got Jakob right, but he kept donating. I didn't know how to say his name. For those of you who don't know, I mean, if you guys watch this stream enough, you probably know who I'm talking about. Jakob Hauge. Okay, I got his name down. And
Kleiser, man, I do not like Thaddeus Young. I don't like his contract, and I don't like his fit and age and all that stuff going forward. The only way I would be fine with a Thaddeus Young trade is if it was a move where, say, Dallas took on Satoransky or something, and we got like a $15 or $16 million trade exception because we only brought back Thaddeus Young for Whiteside, and they got out of 2 contracts for future things. So like that type of move, I guess I would understand getting like way, way, way below the luxury tax and taking on Thaddeus Young, someone that may have a little tiny bit of trade value. I just thought he signed for way too much in this offseason for his age and what he still brings to the table.
He's on a 3-year contract making $13 million a year. his last year is partially guaranteed. If he gets waived, it counts as $6 million on the cap. So if he was an expiring contract next year, sure, you know what I mean? Like, we need expiring contracts next year. I don't like him as a player, but, like, I'd be okay with that contract. But the fact that he has $6 million guaranteed the year after that means that no team is going to really value him as an expiring, because they'd be on the docket for at least $6 million for him in the following season. So they're not going to value him as an expiring contract. So he's basically like a 3-year contract that nobody wants. So we'd have to value him as a player to bring him in that scenario, and I just don't value him as a player.
I value him maybe as like a tax mid-level exception where you sign him for like $6 million a year or something, but not for 13.
He's declined.
I still don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand the Bulls signing him this offseason. It made no sense when they have Wendell Carter and Lauri Markkanen, and now Markkanen's all screwed up and injured, and like he's regressed a ton. And I don't know. They're just weird.
Here's his numbers on the season: 9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds. He's shooting 42% from the field and 34.5% from 3. He's shooting 46.5% from 2 as a power forward, which is very bad. His true shooting percentage is a very, very poor 49%.
Right.
So he's inefficient. He's also not good. He's like an average defender. Yeah, he doesn't get to the line, man. He shoots 1 free throw a game in 22 minutes per game. So he does not get to the free throw line. Just not a good player, man. Not efficient, average defender. Like he's just not. He would be like a forward version of Bazemore. It seems like, not necessarily in terms of play style, but I mean like in terms of just being an inefficient guy who doesn't shoot the 3-ball well enough to really be much of a threat out there. Who is like an average defender, but doesn't make up for his offensive limitations. But the problem is that he's young's on that contract too, so I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, like I said, I'd be okay if that got us that huge trade exception to use this summer, and also deduct the luxury tax so we don't have to worry about next year. But yeah, that's the only scenario.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd want to do that. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but.
Hamza is asking if we should trade for J.J. Redick. I'm pretty sure the Pelicans are trying to make the playoffs this year and aren't going to be trading them off.
They said even if they missed the playoffs, they wanted him just because of the floor spacing he provides.
And also, they're kind of weird, too, where they wanted some veterans this last offseason. They've got J.J. Redick and Derek Favors, like those type of players. They're kind of valuable to a young team. Mm-hmm. I don't see them trading him for cheap, so it would cost you like a first or something to get J.J. Redick, and that's just not worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Rainier's asking, do you think CP3 will be staying in OKC for the rest of his current contract? I thought going into this season that they would trade him for an expiring pick if they could without having to give up any picks.
Yeah.
But this goes back to something I've said several times. I think them having success this year is going to be bad for them long term. It's great for them this season, but long term, they're not going to. Now, they might not trade Gallinari and get an asset for him. They might not be willing to trade Chris Paul anymore. So I don't know if stuff hits the fan later on this season or in the coming seasons. They probably want to get out of his contract for sure. But I don't know if they're going to be able to very easily.
Yeah.
But actually, it's kind of a weird situation where his contract has actually gotten, like, it might have some value. Like, teams could covet him based on how well he's played this year. Whereas before it was, like, thought of as one of those, like, John Wall type contracts where it's like an anchor contract.
It's an interesting situation, man. That whole OKC team is just an interesting situation. Supposed to be rebuilding, but still have too much talent to be a lottery team. Like I was saying that before the season, I didn't know why people weren't high on them. I didn't understand why they were projected to have 32 wins. I mean, you look at that roster. You got Chris Paul, Danilo Gallinari, Steven Adams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the bench. You got Schroeder. You got Nerlens Noel. Like that's not a 32-win roster. There's too much talent to be a 32-win roster. It was just if they stayed healthy, I didn't see that team being under 40 wins. And you look at them now, man. They're on pace to win like 45, 46 games, for maybe even 47. So it's just like, yeah, I thought they would, you know. The whole thought across the league was like, okay, they're going to struggle, then they're going to sell their good players for rebuilding assets, and they're going to make a full rebuild. But after trading Russell Westbrook and Paul George, they're still not really in rebuild mode. They're in playoff mode right now. So it's going to be interesting to see if they stay in playoff mode or if they try and get as many assets for the future as possible, and they say, you know what, I don't care that we're in the playoffs, let's enter rebuild mode, let's trade these guys away. You know what I mean? Because they've helped build up Chris Paul's value. So I think they could get more for him now than they could have done this last offseason. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch what they do. I do think they stand pat, though. Maybe they trade Chris Paul in the offseason, but it's just, I have no idea what's going to happen with that franchise.
Did you see what he said about if he would consider opting out of his final year of his deal just to get traded to a contender or whatever?
What'd you say? Sorry, I was checking chat. My bad.
Someone asked Chris Paul if he would be willing to forego his final year in his contract or opt out of it ahead of time to get traded to a contender to make it easy. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah, no, he wants that money, man.
Yeah.
He wants that money. He doesn't, I don't know, that's the thing. Fans put more emphasis on, like, players winning championships than I think some players do, honestly. Like, oh, he should opt out of $40 million and sign for the minimum somewhere where he could win a championship. Well, it's like, even if he does that, he's not guaranteed to win a championship, and what if he doesn't? He just lost $40 million. Like... I would take the $40 million too, to be honest. So, yeah, I did see that. That was funny.
Corey Sims thinks we should trade Zach Collins for cash.
That's a troll.
Yeah. Ariza had a great game last night. I don't think he's a missing piece, but he could definitely be a decent role player on a good team, unlike Bazemore this year. But yeah, I wish we had like one good other wing, like an Otto Porter Jr. or a Covington or something, just to have if we had a wing rotation of one of those guys I just mentioned, Ariza and Hood next year, if he's okay, that would be pretty solid, I think.
Yeah, we got a lot of trolls in the chat, man. I'm just, God, dude. So, yeah, I keep zoning into, like, this dude literally, I think this dude actually might be serious by saying trade Zach Collins for cash. He said, just saying, I watched the Blazers plenty in the regular season. Well, obviously you don't know what the hell you're talking about if you think we should trade Zach Collins for cash, my guy. That's the biggest L of all time right there.
Why do we need Otto Porter Jr.? Because Ariza's 34. He's not going to be around forever. We need a more long-term option. Ariza's fine as a year or two fix, but like it's not going to help us win a championship.
They can also play together too.
Yeah, because Porter can play the 4 pretty well. I actually like him better at the 4, but yeah, you have Ariza and Porter guarding like Paul George and Kawhi instead of Bazemore and CJ or Dame. Like, that's a lot better.
Bro, I'd be ecstatic. If we traded Hassan Whiteside straight for Otto Porter Jr., I'd be ecstatic. I'd grade this deadline a B+. I'd grade it like a B+ right there. Maybe even an A-. I'd be ecstatic if we ended up trading for Otto Porter. That might be my number one trade target.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, I think, the best case scenario. I can't really think of many better options for Whiteside.
I mean, Blake Griffin, if he was healthy and a playing like he did last season and we were in playoff contention, that would obviously be the number one option, and that would be like a A+ great trade deadline if we got him for like good value, you know, if we were in that scenario. But Blake Griffin isn't healthy. It looks like his career is on like a major downswing, and we're 19 and 27? Yeah, so that's out the window. So yeah, now we're settling for guys like Otto Porter Jr., but that'd be a great guy to get because he'd be a great fit. Shoots over 40% from the 3-point line, can be a good defender. He's kind of been inconsistent, but I feel like that's maybe a product of playing in Chicago. I feel like he'd be a good defender here. He'd be a $27 million expiring contract next year, which could be a very valuable trade piece. Could play the 3 or the 4. Switchable with a guy like Ariza. Just a perfect trade target right now, in my opinion.
Being for Life says you would have to give up some of those seconds you love at least. LOL.
I mean, I'd give up Whiteside in a couple seconds for Otto Porter Jr.
So we're talking about getting a replenishment of seconds as a worst case scenario for having to take on a contract for Whiteside instead of just letting Whiteside walk. So I'd rather have like a really good second round pick this year or a couple of future seconds than letting him walk and getting nothing. Like, what's the value in that? Like, wouldn't you agree that second round picks, especially if it was like the 31st or 32nd pick, is better than not getting anything for him?
Yeah.
I know you're joking. I'm joking too. But.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just today I've just been like kind of getting sucked into chat because there's like messages that are getting held for review. That's just like, God, dude.
Plays has mentioned the 2022 draft. Yeah, that's why we haven't traded our 2022 second, even though we've traded like all our other second round picks. I think there's some lag.
Yeah,
there
is
me
a little bit. No, it's me. Lag.
That's not even.
Okay, we're back. All right. So.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, so I can tell usually when I'm lagging. I decided to start spamming lag in the chat before you guys did because I knew it was coming. I knew like 10 people. I was gonna see 10 different people say lag, but we're back.
So the 2022 draft plays keeps mentioning. That's why we haven't traded our second round pick yet in 2022, even though we've traded a bunch of future second round picks, because that's supposed to be the draft where high school players are allowed back in the draft. So you basically have a double draft of all the players that had high school from the year before that went to college and played a year but weren't eligible the year before, all the high schoolers coming up. So
yeah, think of it this way. Think of a normal draft and then adding like the top 10 high school prospects to that draft. Like that's basically what that's going to be. You're not going to have like twice as many prospects or anything, but like the top prospects in high school are probably going to come out in that draft. But then again, you might have some players that'll be like, you know what, if I can wait another year, then I can get drafted a lot higher because this draft is so strong. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out.
But yeah, it's not even for sure going to be 2022. So that, that's been the plan all along, but it hasn't been like set in stone yet either. So like I could see that not happening or being pushed back at some point. Not sure if that will happen, but yeah, that's a good draft to load up on second round picks because you get a lot of first round talent theoretically.
Yeah.
Is it lagging again, or is Trevin behind?
I don't know. I saw that too. I don't know. My focus is bad this stream. I keep focusing on chat, which maybe is a good thing, but
Corey Sim says, "Why not get trade an injury-prone Nurkic and move on?"
Yeah, bro, this dude's saying trade. Oh my god, man. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna remove that comment, buddy. No. No, we shouldn't trade Zach Collins for cash and move on from Nurkic. Come on, man. Yeah, I'm about to. I removed that comment, bro.
I mean, he could be trolling, but he's also welcome to his opinion.
Yeah, I mean, but like, dude, who says trade Zach Collins for cash and isn't trolling? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that makes my brain hurt.
Well, Nurkic, when he's healthy, is on a great contract and is one of the best and most underrated players in the league, I think.
So. And that type of injury isn't known to like be a reoccurring thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, knock on wood. Maybe something fluky can happen again, but something fluky can happen to anybody. So. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just gonna sit back and watch chat, I guess. uh, my goodness, man. My goodness. This is podcasts like this are where I'm kind of glad that we don't do like audio only versions because people be like, "What the hell's happening?" And I'm just sitting here watching chat. We'll probably sign off in a couple minutes too.
And I don't think. I mean, as much as we've defended Whiteside this year, I don't think we win a title with Whiteside as our starting center. I think Nurkic does stuff that would allow us to get to that point if he was healthy versus Whiteside.
Exactly. I'd rather, Nurkic is much better, just rim protector, man. Whiteside is the flashier one, but I think Nurkic is the better one because it's not all about blocks. And yeah, predict West All-Star reserves, says Hamza. We'll actually do that on a podcast. It's a good podcast idea. Like right before they announce them, we'll do West and East, actually, not just West. Obviously Dame has to be in there, but we'll see if we disagree on any players from either conference. That'll be a fun podcast idea.
Did we settle on a double down game for the chat? I don't remember doing that.
Oh.
Clay's was supposed to pick, or Jason Lee could pick.
It has to be a game that hasn't started yet, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I think a lot of people we're saying Pacers, right? You guys want to double down on Pacers? Does that sound good? You guys are with me since I'm
Pacers.
I'm the best.
Okay. Well, if the Magic win, you're screwed. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then you'd have to win your double down and have me lose your double down just to tie, if the Magic win.
People's Mix keep saying they said the Bucks, and the Bucks don't even play tonight, man.
Yeah, the Bucks played at noon, and we didn't count that game because it was over before we even started the podcast.
That wasn't even one of your options.
We actually said Bucks. Yeah, no, y'all didn't. Okay, Indiana's gonna be Clyde's went with Indiana.
4-point game at half. Celtics Magic. Man, we should live stream us watching the end of this.
I know.
With a blazing ring in front of each of us.
Man, I need to get out of this damn room, to be honest. So
I'm just kidding. I have to go too. Anyway.
Yeah, I gotta get out of this room. My brain's kind of fried at the moment. I don't know why, but anyway, we'll catch you guys later. We'll catch you guys Sunday, post game stream. So it's nice to have a day off tomorrow. That'll be dope. Can relax a little bit. And we'll catch you guys later. Thank you guys for tuning in to watch this podcast. Basically, I'm going to end this with something a little different based on... Okay, so for those of you guys who didn't tune in at the start, right? Between me and Eric, whoever loses pace against the spread today has to eat a blazing hot wing from Buffalo Wild Wings. Neither of us likes spicy stuff, so that's kind of a big deal. So, if the Magic win, then I'm guaranteed to at least tie with him. If the Magic win, then it's going to be hard for him to not lose this. So the Magic are playing the Celtics right now. It's a 4-point game. So I'm going to end this stream off with something a little different. Basically, I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Magic.